Hey there and welcome back to XCOM. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our XCOM Enemy Within Ironman Impossible walkthrough. Now I know that the last episode is already almost 2 weeks old at this point and I want to apologize for that. I'm simply feeling a little down lately. It might be this time of the year where it's always dark outside and I tend to find myself in a bit of a motivational hole, so to speak, and in these times making new videos is not always my top priority. Now anyway, in the last episode in which we completed another terror mission, and in very smooth fashion I might add, in that episode we also had a choice to make regarding the location of our next mission. Once again, 3 countries have been hit with abduction missions, and this time the best choice was really a topic for discussion in the comments, and valid arguments were made for all 3 countries. Now to recap, we have China with scientists, India with a cash reward and Australia with engineers, and after reading through all of your comments I think Australia is where we'll go. Reason number 1, you can simply never have enough engineers in this game, and additionally there is actually an achievement for having 80 of those engineers on staff, and that is something that we're currently still pretty far away from. Now, admittedly, there is a similar achievement for the scientists, but we do get a lot more of those each month. Engineers, on the other hand, are a bit more rare simply because we haven't covered Asia with satellites yet, and that is the continent that gives us the most of them. So Australia it is. That also prevents one additional country from going full panic mode after this mission, because contrary to Australia, China can very well take the hit. Now, as you just saw, in terms of loadout we haven't changed much here. Emilia is just going with a flashbang grenade for this one, because we might have the opportunity to capture another alien, and the flashbang is a solid tactical device in those situations. And that's about it. Let's head over to Australia and see what the aliens come up with.
This is Big Sky. Strike team has reached the AO. Requesting authorization to deploy.
Solid copy, Big Sky. Strike 1 is cleared to engage.
Alright, there we are at the gas station. I have a feeling we have played on this map before in this series, but I'm not quite sure. It is, however, a map that is pretty familiar to me. As always, we will face a handful of enemies, and we also have 2 melt containers to collect. And as always, we will start things off with Assault Adam Work, who can go into stealth mode and scout ahead.
Visual on the goods.
Alright, good thing we did not dash immediately here. Just a few steps and we already uncover the first melt container and also the first group of hostiles. What we have here is a Cyberdisc as well as 2 drones, at the moment probably the toughest enemy group the game has to offer for us. So we want to make sure to get the drop on these aliens and not activate them on this turn, so we will move everyone into positions where they should be able to fire overwatching shots should the aliens come closer, but will stay just out of the line of sight. Emilia can climb onto the rooftop, maybe that gets us an advantage on the next turn, while Rosilius stays right where he is and goes on overwatch with the rest of the squad. And there we are, we have movement. Unfortunately though, it's one of the drones triggering reaction fire, and unsurprisingly, with pretty much the entire squad firing away, the drone doesn't stand for long. For some reason though, that first drone did not trigger reaction fire from MAC Trooper Nicholas Mahoney, which allows him to now take aim at drone number 2. And that gets us another kill, leaving only the Cyberdisc, and that thing did already suffer 6 sneaky points of damage from Sniper Rosilius Wargal. Upon activation, Cyberdiscs also always go on overwatch, and normally I would say how this is a big advantage for us, were it not for the very inconvenient fact that a second identical group has just come around the corner. Since Shoji can fire 2 reaction shots per turn, he does get 1 more off at one of the drones here. However, the laser beams go missing and now we have a bit of a situation here. Now, the 2 drones are of course not the big issue here, but we do have 2 active Cyberdiscs on the map. Both of them are on overwatch and one of them is hiding in the shadows, and I doubt that we will be able to deal enough damage on our next turn to take them both out. That means we will leave a very formidable foe standing, and that does have the potential to not end well for us. But be that as it may, we have to work with what we're given here, so let's take things one step at a time. With Sniper Rosilius Wargal, we have a guaranteed critical hit against the first Cyberdisc here, so let's see what he can do. Okay, thanks to the headshot ability, Rosilius does extra critical hit damage, and I think 14 hit points is the absolute maximum he can do with a single shot from the laser sniper rifle, and that is in fact enough to get us the kill here. That activates Combat Rush for the entire squad and Double Tap for Resilius himself, but instead of using that right away and potentially wasting it on one of the drones, we will instead take care of those two with a rocket from Andrea. Okay, drones eliminated, the building is now open as well, so that second Cyberdisc that is still hiding somewhere in the shadows does no longer have a chance to get repairs. Since it also can't see us, we can once again cloak Adam and send him ahead as a scout, and on his way he discovers not only the position of the Cyberdisc but also a nest of floaters. So 3 groups of enemies hiding very closely together here, and to be honest, one of those floaters would be a prime target to go after with the arc thrower because we haven't captured one yet, but the way things are developing here, I think we have to prioritize our own safety, so instead we're sending in another rocket, this time from Shoji, and thanks to its large blast radius the rocket should be able to hit all 4 enemies.
With pleasure.
And that it does, taking all 3 floaters out instantly and dealing 8 points of damage to the Cyberdisc. Now, we still have 12 points of damage left to deal, but thanks to Double Tap, we also still have that second shot with Resilius. And that goes for 6 points of damage, cutting its hit point total in half, but we also only have moves left with Nicholas and Emilia, and the Cyberdisc is still on Overwatch. So I have actually counted tiles for this. Nicholas should not activate Overwatch if he goes just right here, and indeed he manages to move just into range without triggering a reaction shot, and so he can now take a shot of his own. And that finds the target, the Cyberdisc is down, and that is more than I had hoped for on this turn, and now we even have a move left with Emilia, so let's have her join Adam at the meld here and then go on Overwatch. Now, with 3 groups of enemies already eliminated, it does not surprise that we don't encounter another one immediately here, but we do already receive the rough location of melt container number 2. Before we go there, however, let's grab the contents of the first one.
It's been secured.
And then, once again, we'll use Adam as a scout here and see if there's anyone protecting that next melt container.
Moving to designated position. Visual on the goods.
Alright, and he does find 2 more enemies, this time 2 Seekers, and we also learn that we have 5 turns left on the melt, so we can take things slowly and methodically. Once again, of course, we want to make sure not to activate the Seekers prematurely here. That would cause them to cloak and only make things harder than they need to be. So instead we'll move up a fair bit with the rest of the squad, most importantly though with Andrea, because a single well-placed rocket from her could kill both Seekers instantly. We will also move up Resilius and deploy a battle scanner, because if the Seekers move closer to our group and detect us, they will go into stealth mode, and the battle scanner will prevent them from cloaking. This could then in turn allow us to land a few Overwatch shots, and that is why the rest of the group here is moving up as well, and then we can put Nicholas, Shoji and Emilia on Overwatch. On the Seeker's turn then, we do in fact have movement, but the battle scanner prevents them from going into hiding. So all 3 of our soldiers fire reaction shots, only 2 of them hit, but that's enough. Both Seekers go down and that's the mission completed.
This time, everything by the numbers.
So that was a lot quicker than I had expected, but finishing this mission quickly and most importantly without any injuries or even worse casualties was actually very important, because we will have to take care of yet another mission in the few days before this month ends. Before we get to that, however, let's return to the base first.
Outstanding. Not only did our troops return safely, but the meld they recovered will certainly advance our development of new technologies based on this substance.
So, here you can see it, a familiar picture, no injuries, no promotions, and despite the rather short mission, the list of loot here is actually quite long, and that is because we also recovered some Illyrium and alien alloys. If I'm not entirely mistaken, I believe that is looted off of the Cyberdisc racks. Now, here's where things get interesting, because as you can see, we did receive our 4 engineers. However, according to this screen, the completion of this mission only resulted in a panic decrease. As you will see in just a moment, that is not the case though, and that is because of how panic mechanics work when all 3 countries hit with an abduction mission are part of the same continent.
We will be in touch, Commander.
Now, if we head over to the situation room here, we can see that despite not being displayed earlier, panic did increase in China and India. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, China is able to take the hit. However, India's panic levels have reached the maximum, And that means unless we do something about that within the next 2.5 days, the country could very well leave the XCOM project at the end of the month. Now at this point we have two options to deal with the problem, and if you've been paying close attention over the last few episodes, then you should already know which of the two we're going with. Option A would be to finish the construction of the satellite uplink we're currently building, after which we could then launch a satellite over India for a panic reduction, and we could also launch 2 more satellites over 2 of the 3 remaining countries. Now option B would throw that whole satellite business to the side, and instead it would have us go and do the alien base raid mission. As you know, that mission has been unlocked for quite a while now, and if we successfully complete it, that will give us a worldwide 1-point panic reduction. And well, I have been talking about going with that second option for quite a few episodes now, so it should come to no one's surprise that we will in fact throw that whole satellite business out of the window, so we will not launch a single satellite at the end of this month. Instead, we will go for the base raid in the next episode. That will then also be the last mission of this month, and it should get us into the next one without losing a single country. And because I'm feeling rather confident that we will in fact successfully complete the alien base raid, let us quickly head over to engineering now.
The new engineers arrived this morning, Commander. We're always glad to have more help down here.
Because in here we can now stop the construction process of that next satellite uplink, and despite being only a few days away from completion, we are getting that project refunded in full. So that's 100 credits added to our account, and in this place we could now instead build a satellite nexus, which would come with the added benefit of providing us with enough satellite capacity to cover the entire globe. Had we only built that uplink, we would have missed out on one single slot, so to cover that last country we would have had to build another satellite uplink. That, however, would have been a bit of a waste of space, and to be honest, 4 uplinks and a nexus, that's a lot as well, but it saves us at least one spot for another facility.
Commander, our current satellite uplink facilities are at full capacity. We should build additional uplinks as soon as possible to allow for new satellite deployments.
Now, what I also just did is I also stopped the production of our 3 satellites. We bought each one of those for 56 credits, and we're getting 56 back here, so we're not losing anything. And since we won't have another uplink at the end of the month, we also won't need any new satellites. We will need them eventually once the satellite nexus has been built, but that still leaves us with a bit of time, and for the moment we can use the cash for something else. And for that something else, let us go to the officer training school. Here we can now do something I have been waiting for quite a while. We can purchase all 3 remaining training programs. Iron Will give all of our soldiers larger will bonuses each time they're promoted, and with some of the enemies that will start appearing over the next few weeks, that could be very useful. Wet work will then increase the experience gained from each alien kill by 25%, and that should help our squad level up faster, at least those soldiers who have not yet reached their maximum rank. Speaking of which, this is where New Guy comes into play, which automatically promotes all of the rookies in the barracks to squaddies. Very importantly, this also means that after purchasing this upgrade we won't have a single soldier who does not have a class, and in my opinion that is absolutely crucial if we want to bring a few new guys into the rotation. And you will meet all of those new guys and their classes in just a few seconds. Let me quickly go ahead and color code them off screen so that I can present them to you the way they will appear on the battlefield. So here we are. This did not turn out quite the way I had hoped, a bit too heavy on the heavies if you ask me, but we will have to find a way to work with what we have here. So first of all we have Sniper Randy Miller, who will very likely soon be turned into a mech trooper just so we have a mech trooper with the sniper background. Then we have Assault Zachariah Rucker, and in his case I am a bit torn. We could really use a second Assault, but we could also use a mech trooper with the Assault class background, so we'll see what his fate will be. From Poland then we have the first in 3 heavies, Christoph Liebhardt, and the plan is for Heavy Andrea to eventually become a mech trooper as well, so he or one of the other 2 heavies could follow Andrea's path build-wise when it comes to abilities. Those other 2 heavies are then Spencer Renix from the UK and Kim Lupai, and Kim here will also be important for the Flight of the Valkyries achievement, for which we will have to field a squad consisting only of females. Also taking part in that Flight of the Valkyries mission will be Sniper Michelle Telpers, which is also why we won't turn her into a mech, because having a sniper along is always a good idea. Finally then, we have another support in Shane Anderson, and he could be the one to follow Emilia's path and replace her once she eventually becomes a mech trooper, which, just like with Andrea, will be necessary to unlock the Rise of the Machines achievement. So some of the paths and builds are already laid out for us here, and of course we'll try to get all of these soldiers some valuable time on the battlefield as soon as possible. In the next episode, however, we will go for the alien base raid, and for that mission we will of course take our strongest squad possible. That is going to be a lengthy mission and it features a ton of enemies, so we want to come prepared and leave nothing to chance. By the way, those new soldiers you just saw, all of those have names of Patreon supporters in the naming rights tier and above, and since we will need at least 2 more females for the Flight of the Valkyries achievement, we will also hire a few new soldiers in the future, so there is a chance for you to get your name into the game as well. Just thought I'd point that out because the naming rights tier has not been used too often lately. Now for today's episode, I think we have reached a good point to make the cut right here. Again, the plans for the next one are already set, so in the next video we can jump right into the action. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. And if you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course do so, either by subscribing to the channel and helping it grow, or by supporting me over on Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.